Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and this is just for kicks and giggles. But I thought I'd come up with the 5 different types of readers by the biggest brands of e-reader types, thinking about who would use them and what type of person it would be the best fit for. Once again, this is just fun, nothing too serious. We have a whole bunch of different readers, but something I just wanted to play around with. So first we have the juggler. The juggler leads a busy, busy life. They have family, they have work, they have outside social activities, but they still love to read when they have time. The juggler, they just want a seamless experience. They don't want to go on the web and research brands. They don't want to go on the web and figure out workarounds and software. They just want a seamless experience that they can buy, start reading, and just use when they have those spare moments. They're not interested in owning their ebooks. Once they read a book, they move on to the next one. They're not a book collector. They are a book reader. They're also looking for the most popular solution at the best price. This isn't a person who's going to be spending all their money on e-reading devices. This is a person who has a ton of other stuff to spend money on, but they want to get an e-reader for the best possible price, and they want one that everybody's using so that they can be part of book clubs and stuff like that if they choose to. For them, their e-reader of choice is probably going to be a Kindle. Their favorite things to read are probably going to be romances, biographies, and the fantasy genre. Then you have the rebel. The rebel is a person who definitely wants to be an e-reader and loves e-reading, but they hate monopolies. So their biggest thing is they want to be an e-reader, but they're looking for kind of like a scrappy underdog e-reader to use. They still want the ease of use and they still want a polished experience out the box. So they're not somebody who's looking to, flash ROMs and do programming or do a whole bunch of tutorials and stuff. They're just looking for a underdog that they can pick that still gives them a good reading experience. They're more than willing to live in a smaller book ecosystem. In other words, they don't need all the books that, for example, Amazon would have. If they think that what they're doing is going to be better for creators, they don't mind a little bit smaller than the biggest monopolies. They hate the idea of digital rights management or DRM. Even if they aren't big into owning their digital library, they just don't like the idea of any company telling you what you can do with what you pay money for. Their e-reader of choice is the Kobo e-reader. For them, the things they love to read, they read a wide variety of different genres, but they basically love New York Times bestsellers. That's one of the ways they kind of see things that are going on. They love recommendations from booktubers. They also like nonfiction books as part of the things that they like to read, whether it's self-help, whether it's biographies. They love books about the real world. Then you have the collector. The collector uses an e-reader, but they really just use an e-reader to read their physical book collection on the go. These people have no interest in digital ownership. Their thing is collecting physical books. For them, ease of use and a large collection is important to them. So they're going to go to whatever e-reader has the biggest collection so that they can find whatever physical book they own as an ebook. They also want it to be part of an ecosystem that sells physical books. They prefer that the ebook store be connected to sellers of physical books that are brick and mortar so that they can go to stores and buy the books and browse if they want. As far as their ebook reader of choice, it's probably going to be a Nook. And as far as what they love to read, it'll be fantasy, romantasy, and they do love to read the classics. Then you have the Android. The Android loves to live in the cloud and they love to read their ebooks in the cloud, which means that they keep their books that they buy in the cloud, and then they use apps to go into the cloud to read their books. They're not big on storing their books on a hard drive or in their personal collection. They definitely want their device to run Android. They're a fan of Android, and the reason they want Android for their e-reader is because they have an Android phone, they probably have an Android tablet, they're probably using Android TV, so they want the whole Android ecosystem, and that's why it's important for them that their e-reader run Android. Not only that, but it's important because they love to read based off of reading apps, not e-reading devices. So they have a selection of e-reading apps that they like to use, and they can download those apps onto an Android device. As far as DRM, they may live a little bit in the gray areas of content purchasing and ownership, and they tell themselves that they're doing it as an act of defiance against DRM. So they may go to sites where they're not going to be paying for books, and they might be downloading books that they don't generally own, but they consider it an act of defiance because of their hatred of DRM. Their e-reader of choice is going to be the books, and what they love to read is sci-fi, fantasy, and books about tutorials and instruction on different things. And last, you have the Libertarian. For the Libertarian, digital ownership is key. So they want to own their digital movies, their digital music, and their digital ebooks. Freedom of movement is also paramount, and so they're going to be focusing on universal and open source formats for their movies, their music, and their ebooks. So they're going to be focusing on EPUBs and the EPUB format, and they're going to want an e-reader that can have the best experience with that EPUB format. The Libertarian splits that fine line between being anti-piracy and anti-DRM. They download their books and pull off the DRM, but they only do it for personal use, and they only pull DRM from books they've actually paid for. They're not part of any specific ecosystem. They buy books from a variety of sources, and then all those books they're storing in either their personal cloud or at home on their computer on hard drives and storage that is physical. Their e-reader of choice is the pocketbook e-reader, and what they love to read is historical fiction, fantasy, and classic sci-fi and pulp action. So that's my take on the 5 different types of e-readers. If you like the tarot cards, you can actually buy them as a t-shirt on my YouTube store. I hope you enjoyed. This is Ofori, the digital reader, and keep reading.